I'm Chris Watson, the children's pastor. It's our 5 at 5. I'm going to be continuing on where Pastor Jacob left off. He did a great job talking about the wise and the foolish builder, about what it means to be obedient to God and what happens when we're not obedient to God. And so we're going to take a peek over the next 3 days with what it means to be disobedient to God and what often happens when we are disobedient to God. So we figured the best place to start would be the story of Jonah. Jonah is a really well-known story. It's about a prophet of the Lord, someone that is given a word from God and then is to carry out that word to the people that God has told him. And so Jonah gets a word from God. Now this is an amazing thing in and of itself, to hear a word of God and to be asked to go and share that word. But Jonah is a little upset with who he's asked to share it with. See, the people of Nineveh are a wicked people, similar to the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. And God really wants to either right that ship or destroy them. And so God gives a word that they've got 40 days to get it together, or he's going to destroy them. And he tells Jonah to go tell them. Now, Jonah wants them destroyed. He doesn't want them to hear this word. And so he runs from God. He hops on a ship the opposite direction of Nineveh, and he goes and he lays down in the belly of the ship to get some rest for the journey, to get away from it. But something happens. God is the God who created the dry land and the sea, and he creates a storm to begin to shake the ship. And the people that are on it become terrified, and they try and figure out who is at fault for this. And it comes to Jonah. Jonah is the one that is responsible for this calamity that is on them. And that if they don't do something quick, God's going to sink them. And so they try and figure out what to do. They try and row back to shore, but they can't do anything on their own efforts because God is too powerful to be stopped. And so they ask Jonah, all right, what should we do? And he says, throw me overboard. Now, Jonah in this, you expect in a great storm that if he's going overboard, that he's probably going to die in the sea. But this doesn't happen. We know that a fish comes and swallows up Jonah, and he spends 3 days in the belly of the whale before being spit out. And God has another message for Jonah. Go talk to the Ninevites and tell them the word that I told you. Now this time he does it. He's this close to death because of being disobedient to God. But now, being humbled by that experience, God is going to use him to share that word with the Ninevites. You know, it's amazing what happens when we're disobedient to God. It's amazing how he can humble us. I've had my own humbling experience after being disobedient to God and not following a call that he has placed in the life of our family. And I know what it's like to spend a time where it seems like nothing good can come. We see that from Jonah. We see that in this story, that the disobedience of Jonah seems to almost destroy him. But God can still use those that he has almost destroyed. He humbles him to the point of death, but he's still going to use him. He takes him back to Nineveh to share that news. And this time, Jonah is obedient. And he goes back to share the news, and the Ninevites are the ones who are more obedient to God than Jonah. The ones that Jonah didn't feel were worthy of hearing this word are showing that they're more obedient than Jonah. And the Ninevites, they humble themselves. They mourn that they have been so disobedient to God. And he saves them. He shows mercy on them. And they are saved from the destruction of the Lord. Tomorrow we're going to see another story of what it means to be disobedient to God and how he can humble us